With the launch of each new season in Destiny 2, I get excited to see which hand cannons rise up the ranks of the Crucible food chain, and see which ones become a dominant force in the PvP meta. With so many options we currently have in the game, which ones are the best? Welcome back to the channel, I'm BRAVExHERO, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 legendary hand cannons for Season of the Haunted. We will be ranking them in 2 categories, from how easy it is to obtain them to how lethal they are in the PvP meta. Keep in mind that you won't be seeing any exotic hand cannons on today's list. Also, I will only be mentioning hand cannons that are obtainable at the moment. Yep, that's right, so don't expect to see Palindrome on today's list. But with that, let's get started with number 5. Coming in at number 5, we have the newest hand cannon that arrived with Season of the Haunted. We have the DFA. This hand cannon comes in 2 variants, a regular version and an adept version. Now, the reason the DFA was ranked in the number 5 slot is due to how difficult it is to acquire a god roll. With the DFA being a Nightfall specific reward, it can only be attained by completing a Nightfall on a specific week. And if you're aiming for an adept version, then you need to complete the Grandmaster Nightfall on that week. For those wondering, the DFA became the replacement for the Palindrome. With the launch of the Season of the Haunted, Bungie removed the Palindrome from the Nightfall specific loot and replaced it with the DFA. Now, the DFA is a 140 RPM kinetic hand cannon, and it comes with some really interesting stats and perks. For starters, it has a base range of about 28 meters, and with an 88 recoil direction, this hand cannon has somewhat of a vertical recoil to it, thus making this weapon a bit easier to control when firing it. Lastly, it has a base aim assist stat of 77, which is pretty low compared to the other hand cannons on today's list. Personally, I think this weapon has a lot of choices when it comes to choosing barrels and magazine options. If you're looking for a hand cannon with more vertical recoil direction, maybe something a bit more manageable in PvP, then you might want to consider Arrowhead Break. This would bring the DFA to 100 recoil direction and completely remove its bounce intensity when firing it. This is a barrel I highly recommend for anybody who plays on console or controller. But if you're really looking to push the boundaries of this weapon, you can always choose extended barrel or hammer forged rifling, both of which gives this hand cannon an extra meter of range. But my personal choice would be chambered compensator, since this gives the DFA a boost in stability and recoil direction. Now, when it comes to magazine options, you have 2 solid options, from either tactical magazine or accurized rounds, both of which grant stat benefits for the DFA without sacrificing any of its base stats. Now, in the first column, I highly recommend players aim for perpetual motion, which is going to boost the stability, handling, and reload while the wielder is in motion. This is a great perk that players can really get a lot out of, since in PvP, you're usually in motion, running around the map, capturing zones, and looking for enemies to kill. But you can always get away with the perk Outlaw. With the DFA being limited to only 9 rounds at base, players might catch themselves running empty when moving from engagement to engagement. This is where Outlaw would kick in and assist in that matter. Now, in the final column, there are a lot of solid options, such as Time Payload, Rampage, and even Opening Shot. Either of those would be a great addition for this gun. Before we move into number 4, let's cover one more thing. Since this is a Grandmaster weapon, players have the ability to get an adept version of this gun, which would allow them to utilize mods such as adept range or adept handling or adept stability, all of which are only going to boost this weapon overall. Before we get into our next weapon, huge shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Yahaha Studio. Yahaha Studio is a brand new UGC creation platform for a 3D multiplayer interactive experience. What's nice about Yahaha Studio is that anyone can dive right in, regardless if you have years of experience in coding or none at all. Users can build any creation without any coding needed, only utilizing the components and smart assets provided by Yahaha Studios. That's right, Yahaha Studios has a vast library with millions of ready-to-use 3D assets. Creating a new universe is as easy as just selecting your assets and letting your creative freedom run wild. Now, if you end up creating something amazing and you'd like to show off your work to other users, you can simply publish your work with the click of a button. Once you click publish, Yahaha will publish your work where players can discover your creation and join in on the fun. And yes guys, regardless if you're on PC or mobile, anybody can jump in and try out Yahaha. If you've ever wanted to scratch that creative itch in your body, then you might want to consider checking out Yahaha Studios. You can find my download link in the description. Also, if you click my link down below, you can gain early access to join Yahaha's community challenge to win cash prizes. That's right, cash prizes. Huge shout out to Yahaha for sponsoring today's video. The next hand cannon on the list was released alongside the Witch Queen expansion, and that hand cannon is none other than the Cantata 57. The Cantata 57 is an energy 140 RPM hand cannon that can be acquired as a worldly drop. Now guys, there are several reasons why Cantata made the list. For starters, it comes with a base range of about 28 meters, which is already better than the DFA. But with perks such as full bore, accurized rounds, rangefinder, and a range masterwork, you're looking at a hand cannon that can reach a total of about 36 meters in PvP. But aside from it having a 36 meter damage drop off, the Cantata sits in the higher end of the aim assist spectrum. With an aim assist stat of 82, players can just slap a targeting adjuster mod to it, and your Cantata now sits at a total of 87 aim assist. That's right, 87 aim assist. That is a lot of aim assist. This isn't even factoring in some of the perks that assist in range and aim assist. Now, getting into the first column, I can suggest two perks. The first perk is going to be Rapid Hit. This is going to temporarily increase your stability and reload based on the number of critical shots you land. Now I know this doesn't sound like an exciting perk, but if you're someone who's consistently landing critical shots with your hand cannon, then you can really reap the rewards of your accuracy. Aside from the perk Rapid Hit, the second perk is going to be Eye of the Storm, which boosts the weapon's accuracy and handling as your health gets lower. Getting into the final column, I highly recommend you go for the perk Rangefinder. This is going to increase the overall zoom effectiveness of the weapon. To put it in simpler terms, more zoom means your aim assist cone will be extended out a bit further. Now maybe Rangefinder isn't a perk that you like. You can always go with the perk Time Payload, aka Flinch Payload. Time Payload will add additional flinch to your target. How? Well, Time Payload will split your damage into two, the initial impact and the explosive impact. And by having 2 points of impact, this will cause flinch at two different instances. Overall, the Cantata 57 is a great weapon, and with it not being as easy to get as the others on this list, I would just recommend you keep your eyes peeled for that god roll. Our next weapon on the list was released this season. We have the Ostringer. This is a kinetic 140 RPM hand cannon that can be attained by completing the containment on the Leviathan and unlocking it. Now there are two versions of the Ostringer. We have the basic world drop version, aka the poor man's version, and then we have the craftable version. Yes, this is a craftable weapon, meaning everyone can get their ideal god roll. With it being a craftable weapon, what is the god roll for the Ostringer? Well, if you're looking for a maxed range version of this gun, then you might want to go with the perks Hammer Forge Rifling, Ricochet Rounds, paired alongside a range masterwork. This would give the Ostringer a max range of about 35 meters. Now you might be wondering why this is ranked higher than the Cantata. Well, it's not always about range when it comes to hand cannons. Stability is an overlooked stat. The Ostringer has better base stability than the Cantata 57, giving it a slight edge. But not only that, being able to acquire your god roll Ostringer is easier than trying to acquire a god roll Cantata 57. Now, if you get your hands on a craftable Ostringer, what perks should you craft with it? Well, in the first column, I would go with either Snapshot or Eye of the Storm. With Snapshot, this will greatly increase your aim down sight speeds and benefit you in a gunfight. Now, in the final column, personally, I would go with Rangefinder. It's hard to choose any other perk over Rangefinder, since this perk will help you in any scenario without having to activate it, since it's always active. I think the Ostringer is a hand cannon that everyone needs on their list of must-craft weapons. And with it being fairly easy to obtain, this is why the Ostringer lands in number 3 in today's video. Coming in at number 2, we have Old Faithful. The reason I call it Old Faithful is because it was my go-to hand cannon in Destiny 1. And with the launch of the 30th anniversary, the Eyes Luna is still one of the best guns in the game. This doesn't even take into account how easy it is to obtain an Eyes Luna. Now, the Eyes Luna can be acquired by completing the final boss in the new Grasp of Avarice dungeon. It's so easy to farm the Eyes Luna, you can get one to drop for you every 4 to 5 minutes. If you want an easy strat on how to farm this weapon, that video will be at the top of the screen now. Not only is this weapon easy to obtain, but it has great base stats. If you compared it to our number 5 weapon, the DFA, you can really see a huge difference in the range and stability. Now the Eyes Luna has a solid set of perks in both columns, making it much easier to get a good, viable PvP roll. With perks in the first column like Heating Up, Perpetual Motion, Rangefinder, and Rapid Hit, all of these perks can help any player in a gunfight. Now pairing those perks with the perks in the final column such as Snapshot, Kill Clip, Moving Target, and Demolitionist, all of them are only going to boost this weapon's overall lethality. This doesn't even take into consideration the gun's recoil. Eyes Luna has one of the cleanest recoils when it comes to hand cannons. With a recoil direction of 96, this makes Eyes Luna great for follow-up shots. Personally, if you don't already have a god roll version of the Eyes Luna, then now might be the time to get your hands on one, especially with how easy it is to farm it. Coming in at number 1, we have the Time Lost Fatebringer. This is a Vault of Glass weapon that can be acquired by completing a raid challenge when it's available. The Fatebringer is a 140 RPM kinetic hand cannon, and this gun easily beats every other hand cannon in the game. All of that falls back on its overall great stats and its ability to push the boundaries in the range department. With it being a time lost weapon, this allows Guardians to use mods such as Adept Icarus and Adept Range. By utilizing Adept Range mod on the Fatebringer, Guardians can see a max range stat of about 34 meters, but that's 34 meters without sacrificing any of its base stats in the process. With other guns on this list, in order to have max range, players would have to sacrifice stability or handling in order to achieve that. But with the Time Lost Fatebringer, you can reach 34 meters and still have great stability and handling. But what if I told you that was just the beginning of this hand cannon? This hand cannon has a really good set of perks. The Fatebringer comes with the perk Explosive Payload. Similar to the perk Time Payload, Explosive Payload can really boost your chances at winning engagements, since this will add additional flinch to your enemy. Okay, but how difficult is it to get this weapon? Well, you need to complete the Vault of Glass on a certain week and this weapon will drop for you. Yes, guys, the Time Lost Fatebringer is a guaranteed drop when you complete the activity. With how easy it is to get a Time Lost Fatebringer, I think everyone should put this gun on their must-have list. And there you have it. With Season of the Haunted in full effect, players now have a few more options for competitive hand cannons. If you're just getting back into Destiny and looking for a competitive hand cannon for PvP, then I hope this list helped you decide which hand cannon you should grind for. But with that, I hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you did, feel free to leave a like. Also, if you're new to the channel, feel free to click that subscribe button for more Destiny 2 content. I really do appreciate you all stopping by and hanging out today. I hope you enjoy your day, and I will see you in the next video.